The clock, my hand, now look on your arm. Marks, my pinky. I can't with T-Rex. Well, I'm gonna look on your arm. Marshall Apollo, T-Rex, my pinky. Orange Lemon. Likasu. Hip-hop league. Shapopo. Shabisi. Oh, it was fire.
I think as I reflected over this game, my mind changed on what I had seen, because I don't think if I could have predicted 10 different ways this game could have gone, this game played out completely different, all of those 10 different scenarios. So it looked like, and I know the Springboks weren't fully cohesive, but they were much more cohesive than the Irish. That new expansive style that they played was a lot more of the Irish system, or similar to what they used to play. So I didn't expect that. I didn't expect, remember, we were saying we expect more of a test match type scenario, kick into the corners, chase the points, much more knockout rugby style that we saw.
I asked you last week if Tony Brown would be noticeable this week, and it'd be a big factor. And you said, I don't think so. It's too soon. It's too big a match. Yeah. I think we'll revert more to type, play more risk-free. And I agreed with you. I agreed with
that. But I mean, that's Russie, isn't it? He does do the unpredictable, because I suppose the Irish coaches would have been sitting there thinking, is he willing to take that type of a risk in a big match? And we should know by now.
How stupid are we, eh?
Well, do you know what? I think it's just a credit to the set of players he has that they can do these kind of things. And again, I think if we had gone there and played knockout rugby, we could have beaten them by 40 points, 30, 40 points, because they weren't on. The Irish, sorry, if I can just carry on from what I was saying. So we got this different game plan from the Springboks, more expansive, those wraparound balls out the back. We had the flanks running in the wide channels. So very unusual and a noticeable change in what we were doing. And then we had the Irish, who there's been a lot of talk about them being very tired. But, Leinster were the most rested side. When you have a look at those stats of, players being rested and not traveling in the URC, they were it was like 50% more than any other team across the entire team. I think, the actual highs and lows that they've had could be emotionally draining more than it is the physical aspect of it being draining. They went to the World Cup, high expectations, didn't quite get to where they should have been there, came into the Six Nations, had a fantastic Six Nations, tripped up France and won that. And then, unfortunately, Champions Cup and URC not getting where they would have wanted to go. And those psychological blows, I think they tell him, because this Irish team are nowhere. They're playing at 70% of what I've seen them in terms of style points before. What I don't take away from them is this is a gutsy team. This is a very good team, and they're strong and resilient. And if I was Irish, I'd be really proud, because, when things just aren't working, but you're still hanging there right to the end with a very good Springbok side, potentially playing a different system. But there's a lot to be said for that Irish team. And I'm actually more wary of them for next week than I was for this week. I'm thinking they're really going to give us a good shot, because we beat them by 7 points. We should have beaten them by a lot more in my view. And they nowhere near playing their best rugby. I don't know why. Besides those ups and downs, I think that if psychologically put in some scars that are very difficult to remove, because it's the whole group that's experienced the same scars. So you don't have a balance of others bringing through not having those scars. Do you know what I mean? There were 13 starting Leinster players and 2 Munstermen. So you're carrying the majority of those Leinster scars from this year. So, not great. Not great for them. What do you think of the style? What do you think of? So he said in the after-match press conference that we're looking to evolve on the foundation that Felix put in place with Tony Brown. Mm-hmm. So this is, it must be, he's alluding to an evolution, although, Russie's a bit of a politician. Not quite sure whether to believe him, or it's a bit of leading people down, suddenly we'll go to a completely different game plan for the rugby championship. It could happen.
What do I make of it? I like it because it's simply because it's another string to our bow. It's another piece of armor, isn't it? It's another piece of weaponry. So there's nothing to stop us at any time reverting back to, something that works for a certain team, but just to have a different weapon up your sleeve, if you like. And you don't even have to use it maybe that often, although I get the feeling this might be a cultural shift. You could maybe only use it 2 or 3 times in one game if it's deemed to be on, for example. But I mean, the ultimate weapon, the weapon we really enjoy, we saw in the last few minutes, didn't we, with that scrum? Thank you to the Irish winger, whose name suddenly escaped me.
James Lowe.
James Lowe, who had a mixed bag, eh? But thank you for that, James. But wow, what a scrum that was!
Good grief!
Is it still moving?
Yeah, I sent you a text with that guy did a maths sum. He made an assumption of the speed that they were going at, and he worked out that if you carry on traveling at that speed, it'll take you 4.5 days to get to Durban. So we worked out on a big 650 k's away from Loftus. So a bit of tongue-in-cheek, very funny. I sent it through to you. It was a good laugh what he did. But wow, I mean, that was a real statement. I think it's not really a reflection of the Irish scrum, because Malherbe struggled a bit with Porter. He looked off. Malherbe looked off. I don't see him go backwards like that. A few times he went backwards. When Koch came on, it was very different. He dominated, and Porter was still on. So that's interesting for me. But the scrum right at the end where we scored the penalty try, I don't think we can read too much into that. Look, it was a dominant hit, and it was great to see for us and to watch, but it's not a reflection of how the scrums went. I think the Irish didn't settle properly, and the South Africans, just got a good step in on that, and it happened. It was a once-off. I don't think that's any kind of reflection. But if at a pressure point for them to deliver like that says a hell of a lot. And credit to the front row. It's great to see Malcolm Marx back. Steenekamp, I thought, was very good, very good. And him and Koch, they did a demolition job on the Irish front row when they came on. They looked better than the starting two. Although Oxford looked good as well, but it was causing the scrum to wheel, which always makes it look a bit messy. If we can just come back to the style that they played, I'm not quite sure where I am on it. I like the idea of that extra string to the bow. And I think after 6 years being together, it's probably you can have more than one style to play. Football teams seem to be able to do it a lot better than rugby teams. They can, change a formation and then play a different style, but it's quite different because position can change positions, whereas with rugby you have 15 positions. You know what I mean? And maybe that's something that Rassie can look at, like having 3 centers or something. I don't know. Anyway, I think that it's a good thing to do, but I think to make us play it the entire game when it was getting quite close, I think there's safety in going back to what we know. But I'm not quite sure about it yet, because we were using Creel as a crash ball 13 when Damien de Linde is potentially the best crash ball player we have and one of the best in the world. Now, why are we changing? That doesn't make sense to me. I know it's to create more space out wide, but I need to learn a little bit more about what they're trying to do.
Does it suit the 6-2 split as well? This new style with having
that's a good
limited backs, because it means a lot more. Expansive play means a lot more running, and the backs do most of the running. And if you're getting it out wide, so it does it need an extra backs cover?
Yeah, I mean, these are all things that we've got to take into consideration. And then if you have a look at, okay, so if our game plan is going to go to this, do we have expansive running flankers that are going to start coming through? Because
Sear and Peter stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And they both, you know, are they going to make it to the next World Cup? I don't know. So, you know, if we have a look at the other guys coming through, somebody like Russ, he's a good runner. He could potentially do. Yeah, he's very good. Frankie Horn's very good at in those outside channels. But then if you look at like Ulrich Lowe and some of them, it's not really their style of rugby. So it'd be interesting just to see, you know, are we trying something new to see how it goes? Yes. I think it's just a credit to this group of players having played together for so long that they looked really good, like you're saying, right until the point of getting into the 22.
Yeah.
Then the ferociousness of the Irish tacklers and, you know, Van der Fleer, brilliant over the ball, lots of steals, really dogged defense where we had little knock-ons and, you know, also doing things like forcing the pass.
Yeah.
Like Earburn standing up like 2 meters from the line, throwing it over his head.
Exactly.
You know,
annoying. Yeah.
But it must be coached. It must be an instruction to send it wide when, you know, maybe the balance is in the middle. But I know it's easy for me to sit here and say when you know adrenaline's going and you're a couple of meters from the line, you're just trying to create the space. Exciting, yes, it was. And I had no idea what to expect. Game plan we will bring in on Saturday.
Yeah, God.
It could change completely.
I know. Credit again. We've said it once or twice already, but credit to Ireland for staying in the fight.
But for them to score three tries, that's not good. Although all of their tries came from quite clever little bits of play. Like
they needed to be clever, yeah.
Sheehan behind the back.
Wonderful.
We all, some wonderful play to break us down. But then we almost got caught with like 3 players that almost could get there, but just not quite, which is unusual for us, especially out wide. You know, Colby won't be happy with 2 tries down his side of the field. I mean, as brilliantly as he played and as opportunistic, and I mean, trying to keep him under wraps is a real hassle. The winds played a big part in this game. James Lowe was probably the biggest protagonist in the entire game. Had brilliant pieces of play for and against, and his own brilliance actually cost him the 1 try for Colby, you know, with what he was doing. So, you know, this game could have been quite different. Do you know what I mean? It had like quite a few pivotal points where there was a little bit of luck involved that tries came from, and the really good play broke down right in front of the try line. So I don't know if you had too much noise in the background where you're watching, or if you got to listen to what was going on.
Yeah.
How did you find the ref, and what did you think of the TMO's interventions?
I thought the referee was, as I thought he'd be, kind of very technical, very you're looking at everything, not letting anything go. I thought he'd be like that, and that's how it transpired. I don't have any big concerns with it. I'm always a bit annoyed when the TMO's lingering by, but I'm not, you know, I think some of those decisions could have been left or gone either way myself, you know.
Yeah.
I think when you look at the low try that wasn't, you know, so okay, there's a foot in the ruck pulling the ball back. You know, you can't do that. Whether he's aware of doing it or not, you just can't do that. And I know people will be saying, "Oh, was it Villy had a neck roll against somebody?" Oh, you can't do that as well. So both of those things could have been picked up. But in my mind, yeah, you don't give that try. If the TMO's getting involved, he's seen a ball being pulled back by a foot in the ruck. Well, that's an infringement. So I think the debate is more, well, if the TMO gets involved in everything, he will start seeing more and more and more and more. So I think it's a wider issue. Do we scrap the TMO or not? Or do we only use it at certain times? You know, so it's an ever evolving debate.
Wasn't that the point? Wasn't that the point? That
to get as many decisions right as possible. Yeah. But then, of course, you see in other aspects.
Technically, that was the right call.
Yeah.
I would have also been angry if I'd been. Look, they weren't impressed with the ref and the TMO. Generally, those calls went our way. But the calls were right, actually. It was just how much they interject. So to my point, I got a bit annoyed with Luke Pierce once or twice. So I think it was even on balance. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what we want. We want the consistency. So, he was moaning at Doris for questioning the same things multiple times, but I heard him do the same with us. And he went with the TMO's comments going both ways. Two of the tries, luckily, he saw his tries, so they were good for us. The try that wasn't a try, it was disallowed when they went over the line, but someone's leg was under the ball. Jeez, that was close.
Yeah, very close.
Yeah, but the call was right.
Well, that's what it's for, isn't it? So
yeah. I also found the game quite stop-starty.
Very, but that was quite deliberate also with the Ireland players, and it had to be. Munster did the same. Leinster tried the same. You're playing at altitude. Province do it. Stormers do it when they go up there. Take as many breaks as you can, legal breaks. Get the water boys on, and that was just with the TMO as well getting involved. It did have a very stop-start nature, and then there was the big injury, wasn't there, to Casey? That was seemed to be ages after. It kind of turned into a Coldplay concert at one point. I was thinking, what am I watching here? Yes.
I was quite happy that the DJ didn't go overboard all the time. He was he was a lot better than he was when Leinster played there. So I did enjoy a bit of it. And he played Russie, hey? They asked him not to, but they played it anyway.
Of course he does. Of course he does. Look, it's wonderful to have Tessa Rugby back on. Lovely to see the Springboks playing at home again. And let's admit it, what a game. And a great game for the neutral, no doubt. Great game.
Yeah.
Great game.
Oh. Yeah.
The clock, Mayambe, look on your arm. Marks, Mapimpi, a cable direct. Look on your arm. Marcelo Polo, direct Mapimpi. Orange Naman, Likasu, Hipapli, Shampopo, Shambisi. Oh, it was